Thank you very, very much for joining us on this edition of the India Development Debate right here on ET Now. I'm Supriya Shrinate, and we put the spotlight on what many people believe has cut the construction industry dearly in India. And development is the real casualty after the Supreme Court clamped down on construction activity in 3 states including Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, actually Odisha and also Uttarakhand. The blanket ban, which is the result of the state's failure to implement solid waste management systems, will bring to a grinding halt construction activities, dealing a body blow to the real estate and allied sectors. Experts insist that the ban is unlikely to remain for long, even as states like Maharashtra prepare to challenge the order. But many fear that it will surely dampen the market sentiment. It will also put many people out of job at a time when the Modi government is facing criticism over joblessness. The mega construction ban and what it means to industry, economy, and what will it take for people to wake up to solid waste management is a big topic of discussion and debate right here on the India Development Debate this evening. I've got a stellar panel right here. Geetamber Anand, President of the CREDAI National, joins us. I'm also joined by Anuj Puri, Chairman Anurag Property Consultants. I've got Sudhir Krishna, former Secretary in the Department of Urban Development and former Chairman the 5th Delhi Finance Commission, and Ms. Swati Singh Sambyal, Program Manager at the Environmental Governance Municipal Solid Waste at the CSC. So thanks each one of you for being with us. And Geetamber Anand, it's only fair that I start with you because this is an issue that has impacted the real estate sector as head of one of the largest developers in the country and also as head of CREDAI. How big a blow is this ban for the real estate sector, which is still reeling under a slowdown of sorts? Just about beginning to come out. First it was demonetization, then other factors, and now this big blow of the Supreme Court ban. How big a body blow this really is?
So it's definitely a very, very big setback, not only for the real estate sector, but also for the construction sector. And fortunately, it's just 4 states. But what I would like to say here is, you see, the petition of the case was, you see, a child got dengue and died, which, you know, we empathize and we say there must be proper solid waste management in every town and city of the country. Having said that, my question is that, is it just real estate and construction which needs to manage solid waste? We accept it and we are doing it. But where does the dengue mosquito thrive? It thrives in these open drains. It thrives in sabzi mandis where there's no solid waste management. It thrives where there's not proper management of domestic garbage, solid waste, domestic solid waste. So why is real estate always made the flogging boy? Why is construction always made the flogging boy? Is something that the industry does not understand and also, you know, does not agree with, because after agriculture, we are the 2nd largest employer of people of this country who can't even sign their names. So please understand that the person who's worst hit by this ban in these 4 states and UTs is the daily wage worker who actually gets his employment from the construction and the real estate sector, and he actually depends on his food every evening from the money he earns from this sector. So before blaming the construction and real estate sector for this case on which the plea was based, the honorable courts in their wisdom should look at other areas where solid waste needs to be effectively managed. And like I just said, if you go to any town, any city, and you go to the sabzi mandi, if you see the way solid waste is mismanaged over there, you will realize that real estate is actually not really so responsible for the breeding of these mosquitoes. And yeah, so this is what it is. It's a huge setback to the industry.
Mr. Anand, you've made that point.
And daily wage worker.
Okay, it's a huge setback to the industry. Absolutely, and we will come back and discuss some of the points that you raised a little later on the show, which is, you know, what is to be blamed for this. But let me take this across to Mr. Sudhir Krishna. And Mr. Krishna, you've been a part of the government. Maharashtra government says, it has a waste management policy, one that was formulated a long time back. What stopped it from placing an affidavit in court about it? Isn't this complete laxity, and who's responsible for this? I mean, I just think if it was a quota agitation or any other thing, the state would have convinced convened a meeting, treated this as an emergency, but this does not deserve much attention. I mean, what explains the complete laxity on the part that we have a policy, we just did not tell the courts about it? Who stopped you from producing that affidavit in court?
Well, I think the state might have mentioned or that they have a policy or may have omitted, but the issue is that cities need to be kept cleaner and the garbage has to be managed much better. That part is beyond doubt, and it is a matter of chance and unfortunate situation that only some states have been punished, and the real estate sector in some states have got punished. That is an unfortunate development in my opinion, but definitely the states have to take the solid waste not only management, not only for making a policy and filing an affidavit. The cities have to be kept clean. So the issue has become little complicated now. Now one part is that the governments at all levels, they are more engaged with slogans and submitting, designing policies and advertising in newspapers, but where the cities have remained by and large as dirty in most cases. There are some exceptions. So that is one side. The other side, unfortunate development, is that unfortunately the government is giving lot of space to courts to intervene and manage the executive functions, which is a little complicated matter, because governance is a very vertically integrated
I will ask you to stop there.
From
okay.
highest level in government.
Mr. Krishna, I will ask you to stop there, because that's a point of topic. I want to pick up judicial overreach in a minute from now, but I'll take it across to Anuj Puri because I want to go to Swati as well very quickly. Anuj, Uttarakhand government has sought a stay on the ban. Maharashtra, Punjab have still not approached the apex court, Madhya Pradesh, belying expectations that the industry had that they would. What explains this delay? I mean, this lack of communication. You have a policy, you don't tell the courts about it. You say you issue a press release. Your chief secretary says there is a policy, and we will tell the courts about it. So does the chief minister. Why are you not telling the courts? Why are you not going to the courts? I mean, this lack of communication. Two departments in the government of Maharashtra disagreeing who will move the court. They can't come to a conclusion on that. I mean, who's responsible for this laxity?
So I am hoping that it would be addressed in the next 24 hours, so there would be very little impact that would have happened, Supriya. So my thought is that it would be on a very urgent basis being communicated with a request to the Supreme Court that here we are with the policy.
Okay, let me take this across to somebody who understands waste management very well, and let me take this across to Ms. Swati here. And Swati, are state governments to be blamed as well? They seem to have taken the courts for granted as far as a solid waste management policy is concerned. Some have not bothered to inform the courts that they have one, and others have been too busy to even make one. I mean, how much of this blame really lies on the states? It's all right to paint the real estate guys as the big villains. In this situation, it seems more like policy makers are at fault.
I totally agree with you, Supriya, because we had the solid waste management rules that came in place in April 2016, and it's been almost 2 years and 4.5 months that 2/3 of the states don't have a action plan in place. As per the rules, every state had to formulate an action plan for solid waste management. Every state had to come up with a policy roadmap for every city. I mean, how would be the local bylaws for solid waste management? And as per last year's report of CPCB, 2/3 of the state didn't submit action plan or didn't give a policy roadmap as per the revised rules. So clearly, the state urban departments are at fault. Even if they have worked on policies, I think they could have notified to the court that a policy is in place. Or 2 years and 4 months is a very stretched timeline for any state to devise a policy roadmap as well as work on an action plan on solid waste management. So I think we've already eaten up a lot of time, and I would totally blame the state governments on this part, especially the urban departments, because 2 years and 4 months is a lot of time to come up with a policy roadmap as well as an action plan on solid waste management.
Fair point. Fair point. Just like Swati, I want everybody to keep their answers crisp because there's a lot of ground to cover. So I will request each one of you to keep your answers brief. Many questions there. Mr. Anand, there is also confusion right now whether construction can actually continue in Maharashtra or not. Given the Chief Secretary's statement and what the Chief Minister has said, we are given to understand construction is on at most sites because they say there is a policy in place which perhaps wasn't communicated to the Supreme Court. What is the situation on the ground? Can construction continue? Does this hold for infrastructure projects as well? Can you clarify what you make of this?
No, Supriya, see, as per the Supreme Court order, you have to stop construction, and any continuation of construction will result in a contempt of court. So now there is a policy in place, there is a solid waste management policy in place, but till the court does not lift the stay on construction in Maharashtra, you can't continue construction no matter what anybody can say. So people have actually stopped work because you don't want to be slapped with the contempt of court. Having said that, I am again repeating this, it's not just Maharashtra, it's all the four, it's the union territories of Chandigarh and the other states where there has been a stay on construction. I think it is totally, it's not fair the way it's been done, and you cannot, time and again I say this, you just can't blame construction for dengue, or that's where this main petition was coming from. So we agree that there's a lot that needs to be done for solid waste management all over, not just in construction, more so in other areas. Like even if you say today in Delhi and Mumbai, there's so much of water lying in potholes where mosquitoes are breeding, that needs to be set right too. So you can't stay construction, don't take a knee-jerk reaction. It affects lots of lives. Like I said, it's the daily wagers who are the most affected. They will not be able to earn money to even buy their evening meal. So this has to be looked in a very holistic manner by
that's exactly what I want to touch upon.
All over again.
Okay.
Construction is totally stopped.
Gitambar Anand, that's exactly what I want to touch upon next, which is impact. Give me a second because I exactly want to touch upon impact next. I will ask a question to Anuj Puri and I'm coming right back to you before I go across to Ms. Swati and Mr. Sudhir. Anuj, according to what I read and what you have said and estimated, you have said projects worth 4,64,300 crore for a total of 575,900 units are already significantly behind schedule. How does this order impact those? If this order were to be implemented in full force, how does this impact most of those projects?
Absolutely, Supriya. So what we did is an analysis to say is if there was a particular date that the developer had declared when the project would be delivered, and if they have not been able to deliver it in that, what is the value of that inventory that is getting inordinately delayed? And that is what this 4,60,000 crore across India inventory, which is got delayed from the date that the developer had originally communicated to the home buyers that the inventory would be delivered. There are two parts to this. One part is where the inventory is completely stuck. That is largely in Noida, where we are seeing that the developers have taken perhaps more money from the home buyers and the balance installments that are left is inadequate to complete the building. And the second part is where they've got delayed because of various issues. Some may be government related approvals, or some may be their own financial, or some may be that the sales has been rather slow and hence they have slackened the pace of activity of construction. Those are the two parts. The first part where we are saying is that there has been projects that have really got stuck, we believe is about 15 to 20% of that 4,64,000 crores, where the projects have really got stuck and government involvement or some agency's involvement will be required for the ball to start to roll on those projects.
Gitambar Anand, I have to ask you, what is the estimated impact of this ban if implemented in full force, both in terms of cost overruns and job losses? The sector, like you said, employs the bottom of the rung people who can't read, write, about 40 to 60% of unorganized workers. Give us a sense of the impact on jobs and cost projects.
So here it is. So any stay, let's say if work is stopped on any site for 3 months. So the labor which is living there, naturally, you know, they have no other option but to go back to the villages and places that they come from. So this means that when you start the work again, it takes another 3 months for you to, I'm saying if you stop it for 3 months, it takes another 3 months for them to come back and start getting organized. And it takes another 2 months for the site to actually come back into the momentum which it had lost. So a 3 months ban or a stay actually results in a delay of about 8 months. So that's more than twice the time lost. So the wages, now it depends from site to site, but let us say if it's a 500 crore construction cost project, then this 8-month delay actually results in a minimum loss of about 50 crores a month, because there's interest payments, there's fixed costs of salaries to be paid to people who are working in the organization. There's a loss to the daily wage worker because they have actually, you know, for about 8 months they have no source of income. So all in all, this is just a small figure that I'm quoting. But if you look at the number of projects in one particular locality, let's say in Maharashtra, and I'm not just saying Mumbai, I'm saying Maharashtra, there must be at least small and big 500 such projects going on, where there's road projects, bridge projects, construction projects, there's real estate projects. So you can just see the multiplier, and you can see the number of man days which are actually losing jobs. So in a 500 crore project, you'll have at least 500 daily wage workers working, and you can see the multiplier, see how many workers actually lose jobs.
Right.
So it's ridiculous.
There is a multiplier. Mr. Sudhir Krishna.
Say something. Why don't you penalize people?
Okay.
Yeah.
I get your angst and I get your point. I get your angst and I get your point, but let me take this across to Mr. Sudhir Krishna. And Mr. Sudhir Krishna, is a blanket ban of this kind a solution in a developing economy? You know, construction is not just a sector in itself, and especially when we are trying to deal with NPAs and all of that, this may result in further stressed assets. The reality is that this is going to have a multiplier effect, like Mr. Anand is pointing out. Banking, cement, sanitary, steel, electrical equipment. I can go on and on. I mean, who's going to compensate for all of this?
I think you are right, but it is also important that the solid waste management issue is not, you know, shrugged off and is not, you know, ignored. I totally sympathize with all the arguments made in favor of the construction sector and real estate sector. In this case, in this particular instance, I think they have got a raw deal, and that is not good. But that, on the other hand, the issue of solid waste management has to be debated more seriously in the parliament, in the state legislature, and because, you know, this is an issue which is not ending with making a policy. Even if the state makes a policy and submits before the court that you have got a policy, the issue is not ending there until the management is, you know, solid waste is managed well. So I suppose this is high time that the municipal corporations and the other local bodies like panchayats and authorities, various authorities at all levels, they, you know, they take it very seriously to implement the solid waste management. I mean, making policy is just a kind of canvas, but actual job has to be done, and it's very, very important now.
Yeah, that's an important point. That's a very important point that you're talking about. It just is not about policy making, it's also about implementation and execution, and if you're not going to do that, then that policy is not going to be worth anything. And I don't think we want to shrug away solid waste management, because that's an important topic. Swati, if I may ask you, isn't there a need, however, for a more nuanced approach? I'm all for better waste management, because, you know, the courts are right when they say that one day India will go down under its own garbage if we don't wake up. But should the ban not be applicable perhaps on new construction and not on ongoing construction? I mean, how do you marry the need for solid waste management vis-a-vis the needs of a growing developing economy?
Of course, development is also very crucial for the country, and impacting an entire sector is no way the solution, which the earlier panelists said before. But at the same hand, we really need to work on solid waste management, because if we don't, most of our cities will drown in our own garbage. As we all know that waste generation are increasing by the year, the per capita waste generation is increasing. So the need of the hour is to capacitate the municipalities, because if you look down and if you look at the ground, wherein how our cities operate, segregation is not happening on the ground. There is no man management to tackle waste. There are no systems to manage waste, and we are still very much a collection and disposal incentive. The kind of mechanism that we operate for waste management is very much collection and disposal incentive. So we really need to work on strengthening our systems, but also ensuring at the same time that such bans will impact millions of population, especially at the weaker sections of the society who have got jobs into construction sector. So of course, making waste management more robust in terms of policy and implementation is more important right now. That has to be the prime focus, and it can only happen if we strengthen our municipal capacities, which is very lax right now. If you look at states in UP, Bihar, Northern India, I mean, most of our cities are struggling to manage their waste. So a robust mechanism needs to be put in place foremost.
True. Right. It can't just be waste management, it has to be waste recycling as well, and that's another debate in itself. But Gitamber Anand, if I may come to you, I agree with you that a stray case of dengue is perhaps not related to what is happening on construction sites. But what is perhaps an relevant question to ask this evening is that is the industry, is real estate sector, is the construction sector aware of the reality to manage waste? I mean, it is also a reality that the richer states in India are going to produce more waste because they are going to be more prosperous. But their ability to treat, to recycle that waste is very poor, and real estate sector is a stakeholder there.
So I'll answer your question, but I want all viewers to just notice that whenever we're talking of solid waste, the word garbage is coming up time and again. So garbage is the real villain here. Solid waste management will begin with proper management of garbage. And if you see any of the Gazipur waste over here in Delhi, or maybe in Mumbai, where there's garbage waste dumps, a very small percentage of that is construction waste. Now, as an industry, the real estate sector, CREDAI, has we have dedicated a whole vertical which is called the CREDAI Clean City Movement. And it started from the Kerala chapters, wherein we are actually segregating and managing and disposing of all household waste within our complexes, and there's zero garbage disposal, there's zero leakage of garbage from the complex itself. So this has happened about 4 years ago, and we as a responsible industry are actually aggressively enforcing this the CREDAI Clean City movement across all our members, across their projects, wherein we have kind of enforced proper garbage collection after it is segregated at the apartment level, and then disposal of that biodegradable garbage within the complex, and whatever is not biodegradable, we have it sold off to the kabadiwalas, so that effectively the municipal body within that area has to collect zero garbage from that complex. What we know there's a lot more that needs to be done, and from our side as
Mr.
responsible
Anand, what
Indians,
you're saying,
as a responsible industry, we are doing everything over there.
Right. No, I agree with you. You're doing a lot. I just think, the entire industry is perhaps not doing as much. I know some of your projects are very good. I live around them, but I don't know if the entire industry is kind of doing stuff like that. But a quick last word to you, Mr. Krishna, and you had alluded to this in your previous answer. It's only fair that I come back to you on this. Isn't this yet another instance of judicial overreach with wide-ranging ramifications? Whether it's telecom, whether it's coal, whether it's mining, and now construction. I mean, where do we draw that line? There is supposed to be segregation of power. The executive is supposed to make and implement laws. It seems the courts are doing it all over again.
Well, the courts have done something, and I would say it is not, in the overall interest of the country. This should not happen again and again. And this gives a pointer to all the executive bodies, starting with the panchayats and municipalities and the state and central government also, that the executive must now start doing its role, what it is supposed to do. There seems to be a bigger and bigger vacuum that is happening, and even the legislature's supervision. After all, we are not hearing much debate in the legislature over solid waste management issues, as much we are hearing in the National Tribunal, Green Tribunal and the courts at all levels. So I think it is high time that the executive, put their act together and then they start taking the challenge. I mean, this case should become a pointer that every city will take a challenge to make its residents happy with clean environment, clean city. That should be the result from this episode.
Okay. Okay, that's a very, very important takeaway, that I think the biggest thing to learn from this episode is not just that, there needs to be better waste management and there are no two ways about it. And like the courts say, if we don't do this, India will be buried under its own garbage. But we also need to look at the segregation of power, and that will only happen if one wing of the government performs as well as the other wing. Executive has to do its job. The government has to frame a policy. It has to ensure that that policy is followed to the T, and only then will India be able to balance its needs of development with its needs of conservation and waste management, which is as important as the construction activity that perhaps should be allowed, and a blanket ban is not warranted for a developing economy. On that note, thank you very, very much, Mr. Anuj Puri, Mr. Geetambar Anand, Mr. Sudhir Krishna, and of course Ms. Swati, for joining us right here on this edition of the India Development Debate. Thank you very much for being with us.